Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Well, if you've seen me speak before, usually it's a more sort of epic affair, and since there's only limited time, I'm going to start you off with sort of a little primer, kind of a condensed Clockwork Orange type experience. So just lean back, peel your eyelids back, and let it all wash over you. Thank you very much. I'll just leave now. Okay, well, here's what happened. About a year ago, I got a call from Tarsem, the director, and we'd worked together on a movie called The Fall a few years ago, and he was doing a new movie that's opening today called Immortals, and he asked me to do the opening titles for that movie. So nothing super special about that. There it is. And no, you don't have to applaud that. There's more. So that's just, I mean, that's my job. I mean, you can't applaud Buddy just for building houses. That's what he does. So I made the type, and they said, can you just pick a typeface, or can you just pick a font for the title? And I said, no. It has to be a custom lettering. It has to be a custom logotype. And so I did that, and that's fine. And that all happened, and this is the one that Tarsem picked out of a few. I also had sort of a Bollywood tricked-out glittery one that he didn't go for, but this is quite nice. And when you see it in the movie, it comes up in a very, very dramatic fashion, and you will note that the curve of the M will parallel an architectural feature. So I'm just telling you that, but I'm not allowed to show you that part. You're going to have to go, fork over some money and go see it at the movies. So the important thing is that a few months later, they called me, the studio called me and said, can you just pick us a font again, because, there's really not time for you to do the end credits or the subtitles or any of that kind of stuff. And I was offended. I wasn't offended in the sense of how dare they go elsewhere or how dare they do it themselves. Just the idea that somebody would pick a font and then just type it in. I believe the words were, we're just going to type it in, was aesthetically offensive to me. Because I deal in minutia, and if I had another 18 minutes, I would go through here, and so that's all I'm saying. I'm a difficult date. So as I was saying, I was offended that they would just type in these end credits, and I said, please, as a humanitarian gesture, let me please just do this, because they're wonderful filmmakers. They're not great typographers, and they're like, no, there's no money, there's no time. I'm like, I'll camp out at the production facility. I will sleep there. I will type it in for you as you give it to me. And they're like, no, it just can't be done. And so one of the great benefits of being a designer is that I can just mock it up. And so what I did is I got all the credits off of IMDb and just designed them and then sent them to Tarsem and to Stuart Levy, the editor, and said, and I wrote a reader's letter. Dear editors of the movie Immortals, for shame. And I essentially, which really, that is essentially what I said, and I said it would be a cosmic injustice to make a $100 million movie and then end it on a default font, which is kind of... I applaud your applause of quality. And it's just, it's basically like driving a beige Ferrari. It's just not done. So here's a little detail. This is what's called the main on ends, which are the end credits that flash up but that don't scroll. And they're just little nice touches in there, like the double O here. That's what we call a ligature. So for the educational part of today, 2 letters together like that, ligature. All right. And also a Bergdorf-Goodman reference. So, and then also here, double T, because nothing makes me crazier than when I go see a movie and it's this really beautiful, tricked out, Kyle Cooper, everything moves everywhere typography, and then they just, like the biggest idiots, have 2 T's that are just sitting there. Like, I can't even, never mind. We don't have the time today. So, Immortals. And then the nice thing is that I sent it in and the standard industry reaction would have been, GTFO, this is not your business. But instead, the editor said, this is what I've been talking about all along. Let's just do it exactly like that. So when you go see the movie, it will be exactly like that. And when you see the movie in Quebec, it'll be exactly like this. Because it needs to fit within the frame in a very specific area. And if you just space it out and you just add the les at the beginning, then all of a sudden you have a very dinky piece of type. So I just did a quick condensed version because I'm committed to quality that way. I'll tell you another story. I don't know how many of you have Google Voice and the amazing Google Voice automatic voicemail transcription. If you're not familiar with it, basically you leave a message and then Google, through the magic of now, translates this all into the written word in a sort of hilariously mangled way. Go on YouTube, search for Paul F. Tompkins and Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech as rendered by Google Voice. You'll thank me. So I woke up, I checked my voicemail on my gizmo, and there was a voicemail and it said, "Hi, my name is Terrence Schaefer. I'm calling from Saks Fifth Avenue. I am told by authoritative sources that you are the man to design the Saks Fifth Avenue Yeti for me." And I was lying in bed and I thought, that's hilarious. All those words are real words, and I wonder what the actual message was. And in fact, it is the only time that Google Voice has accurately transcribed a message, is when I got a request to design a Yeti for Saks Fifth Avenue. Because as you can see from my prior work for the Swords and Sandals epic Immortals, I am the man to call for Yeti design. I am not fully sure how these things work, but there you go. So they called and they said, design us our Yeti. And I said, okay. And they had a weekend, so I was able to really, take my time with it. And here are some of the sketches that I sent them. And the Yeti, the story is that the Yeti lives on the roof, is rumored to live on the roof of Saks Fifth Avenue, where it makes snow. So I figured that he would be a stylish Yeti, and under the fur would hide high heels. Also, small feet, very little heat loss going into the snowy rooftop. And so I just kept making different versions of the Yeti. Sam the Walrus Yeti, and again, small feet lead to very little heat loss. And some more befuddled than others, some more satanic, which was deemed a bad marketing angle. Happy, beardy Yetis. And then also some that have eyebrows that are actually separate creatures. And the wonderful thing about Sachs and the team there is that they looked at all this and they said, these are all great, which one do you want to do? And I love hearing that. Because I mean, I may not always be sure that my opinion is the right one, but I always think that it's better than yours. So, so I decided, in contrast to that statement just now, that a self-effacing and shy Yeti would be the way to go. And so we settled on this little guy. And so what happens next is, of course, that I have to determine how does he work? What are the underlying mechanics of it? So I figured that he was a shy Yeti, but a Yeti who works out. This was, again, a step too far. I did a style guide for the eyes. Oh, is it a pun crowd? You shouldn't really applaud that. But it was very important because the eyes have a magnetic field. Each ring in the eyes has a magnetic field. So they get close, but they never touch. Tragic, actually, really. And then they asked me to design a hang tag for the Yeti with care instructions. And I said, okay. So I made a 20-page passport that deals exclusively with the Yeti's emotional care. So he is shy, and he is retiring, and he doesn't like big parties, and he just likes to stay home and read Smillis' Scents of Snow. So that's kind of how I work. And indeed, here he is. Right? So in the process of all this, what happens next is that I have to create a little bit of extra. So I created a letter that is written in 1953 on period appropriate stationery that I created with the logo from that period, from Adam Gimbel, the head of Sachs at the time, saying, please, people, nobody validate, nobody honor these rumors about a family of Yetis living on our rooftop. However, nobody ever go on the roof. I also created, since there were rumors there were rumors recently about Yeti sightings at a lake in Siberia, so I created the International Institute of Yeti Research in Siberia, as you can see from the Yeti paw up here. And it is a Russian letter to their undercover agent who is posing as a hot dog vendor outside of Sachs, keeping track of the Yetis. And he's saying, why have the Yetis taken up residence on the roof of Saks Fifth Avenue, the capitalist center of the world, when at heart they must surely be Russians still. And this is all thanks to my good friend Suzanne Wertheim and her network of friends in period-appropriate 1960s Russian, so it's a little bit arcane if indeed you speak Russian and are reading it presently. Here's a translation. And then we built a 6-foot one for the New York store. Pretty cool. And this morning from the Santa Barbara store, I actually picked up the very first actual one. Oh, yes. And he has positive and negative snowflakes on his paws, so when he claps his hands, he makes the snow. I'm going to put him just right here. And I'm now tremendously behind, so I'm going to rush through this a little bit. It is about plausibility, and every time I start a job, it is about creating a world. It isn't just about, okay, well, here's the one thing. You've asked me to design a Yeti, here's your Yeti, thanks very much, where's my check? It's every time I build a house, and the job is the foyer, and then the best thing you can do as a client is to just ask me, hey, what's in that room? And what's in that room? Because I'll have an answer for you, believe me. And this comes through in my other work as well. This is the product line for the EchoPark Time Travel Mart, the Dave Eggers project. This is the front for 826LA, so go visit that. That is 1714 West Sunset in Los Angeles. This is a website I have called The Neologist. It's neologist.org because everybody's using Zeitgeist and Weltschmerz. So you can write to me and I will make you a tailor-made German compound noun. I had a few years of being first in a not-so-great relationship and then doing a lot of online dating, and so I processed that by creating a series of medals on dating and medals on love. Because this is just how I process my life. Like the persistent online dating campaign medal, and the stripes are green for Vista, blue for Macintosh, and black for Linux, because I'm all-inclusive that way. And we also made some actual medals that you can give to your hubby or your female hubby. And then again, this is all my way of processing my life. So my new book is all about questions. And so this is how I think. And so what I'm trying to do, my mind is a little bit, I'm trained, my first memory as a child was just being very confused by all the social norms of kindergarten and thinking, I understand that there are rules going on here, I don't know what these rules are. And it bugged me, and so I spent many, many years training my brain to just run endless, very quick simulations and testing them against reality to see if this might be the rule set, and I just can't get there. The problem is, after a while, when you do figure it out, your mind is so trained to just keep going and going and going and going that a mind like pop will eat itself. And it's a little bit like a runaway combine harvester. So what I'm trying to do with my work is to just steer it towards productive fields so that at the end of it I have usable bales of hay, mind hay. So that's what that is about. So it is called 344 Questions because my studio is 344 design. But there are 1,484 bonus questions. How many times have you said, I don't understand with eagerness is a question from Dave Stewart. And the only reason I show you is because I'm really taking pleasure in seeing the printing dot. And also, not to mention that there are little people. Adding little people, as the architects will tell you, always adds scale. So it's an eeny-meeny little book. However, it is gigantic type in it. As I was saying, it's not so much for me about creating opportunity as outrunning my brain, because when my brain catches up with me, it's usually not pretty. So I just try to do as many things as I possibly can, just to get to a point of peace. I know there are people who are meditating, and they can get to it that way. I can't do that, so all I can do is run faster, faster. I'm sorry, what?
Speaker boy, forgetting something?
I'm getting to it.
Well, get faster. I'm drying.
I also have this website called The Daily Monster, where I draw a monster every day, and they're cranky, so I did promise that I would bring one out. And this is going to be really quick, because I know we're in overtime, but draw a monster every day. That's not the good part. The good part is that people from all over the world come to the website and create stories about these monsters. Yeah, right? And they're all snazzy dressers. Pinstripes are slimming, and in this case, possibly not slimming enough, but there you go. And they do all wear heels because they have strong arches. And again, there's about 250 of those on the website, then there are also another 200-300 just drawings, because sometimes I just don't have time to film. But I did want to show you one of those, because they're fun. Sometimes they have plumey tails.
That's better. About time you brought me on.
I'm getting to it. Here you are.
Now, after Tarsem and the Time Travel Martin, the books, 5 minutes on the damn Yeti? The Yeti? Don't forget who put you here, buddy.
Don't be cranky, you're here now. I mean,
Indeed we are. Listen, your talk so far, meh. Where's your TED moment, man?
I'm building to it.
Build schmild, let me do it. I've got 5 tight minutes on microfinance and how to save the polarized caps. Quite moving, actually.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'll pass on that, thanks.
Okay. Violin concerto based on the mitochondrial activity of kelp?
Again, no thanks. No.
Okay, fine. Here's my real TED moment. Ready?
Oh, God.
Anybody can wheel out a pickled brain, Jill Bolte Taylor. This is fresh.
How can you even speak to me right now?
Redundant brain array.
I'm not even going to ask what that means. You know what? I'm just going to wrap this up on my own if you don't mind.
Suit yourself. Impart your closing thoughts, because I'm sure they're cooler than a living brain.
All right. The Daily Monster, give him a big hand. So in closing, I will say to you that if you are like me, first of all, sorry. And I would say try also to outrun your brain and try to do something interesting and creative with it. Find other people that are like you and that will help you do it. And if you're blessed with a calm mind and you encounter people such as myself, I want you to ask 3 questions. What is the world you're in right now? Can you give me the tour, and how can I help? That's all. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.